Hello and welcome to the TRBusiness June-July e-zine, where we feature the top 10 international airports as ranked by the amount of international traffic accumulated in 2021. Frankfurt Airport features in that list this year, so I am delighted to introduce Nina Kristin Gür, who is the VP for Retail, Key Account Management for Fraport AG. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm delighted to be speaking with you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlotte. Yeah, great to see you again, even though it's only on a call, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. We can't wait to see each other face to face again. So a lot of the conversations we're having with the airport operators that feature in this year's list is all to do with continued recovery and how that's coming along. So how far along in the journey to recovery is Frankfurt Airport at this point?
Well, if you look into the last couple of weeks, starting around Easter, it has caught up very fast, and we are all surprised how fast we got back onto the level where we are right now. So looking into the last few weeks, we are back at about 75% in total in comparison to 2019. We don't look too much into 2020 and also not into 2021, because especially in the first half of the year, it wasn't really plannable, and well, all over lockdowns also going on. But in comparison to 2019, we have quite full airports again. So and also especially the terminal in the Schengen area is like the last weeks was back to -10, -12%. So we have really a lot of queues going on. Everyone knows that especially the major hubs in Europe, they are also suffering from lack of staff in all areas. Is that also in Frankfurt? And if you follow the press, you might also know that a lot of airlines did actually actively cancel flights to avoid like a whole chaos at the airport. Yeah, so that's more or less where we are at right now.
Yes, it's you almost want to say it's a nice problem to have, but it isn't really at all, because you know the congestion is very damaging, and the delays are very damaging, and of course the cancellations are very damaging.
Is awful. This all of course affects our business in terms of retail and food and beverage, since people are queuing up. They are all nervous to catch their flights, and this is not helping our business as well. So yes, it's more or less like a luxurious problem to have them all back, and we are very happy that people are willing to travel and they're eager to travel and spend their summer break, summer vacations somewhere around the globe. But yeah, it actually went up a lot faster than we expected.
Absolutely, and you are certainly not alone in feeling that way. You mentioned the 75%. You're up to that now. What is that in terms of traffic, in terms of sales, of retail? What is that?
Talking about passengers. Yeah.
Is that international traffic, or is that all total traffic?
It's in total. And it splits up. Also quite similar in like domestic, or let's say European travel, and also international. So also in the transit area, we have a very nice pickup as well. Of course, we are still lacking Asian countries, China especially, and we do notice, of course, the lack of Russian travelers as well, and Ukrainian travelers. But this is not such a high impact. This makes up to about 3% in our range of passengers in total. So yeah, it's that we notice, of course, in international, but there are a lot of people who actually want to catch up with what they missed in the last couple of years, who want to see their families and friends and pick up with their businesses over there as well. There was a lot of prediction that business travels will be a lot lower, which is still the case, but it's also moving up faster than we expected. And we know that airlines have started up to increase their business destinations in comparison to last year tremendously.
Absolutely. This list refers to traffic accumulated in 2021. How would you describe that year for Frankfurt Airport? I know obviously challenge is a word that's going to come into that heavily, I'm sure.
I mean, it was quite difficult to first of all manage all operational issues about the decisions that were taken by the government. So in the beginning of the year, we were quite positive that we would be able and catch up with the traffic. And like right after also already before Christmas, there started a new lockdown. So we always had to try and move according to what all different government, not only the German one, because we are also dependent on what other destinations, other countries were residing. So like for the first half of the year, it was very, very difficult to manage all operations from the airline's point of view, but also from our point of view, because there were different regulations for, of course, the food and beverage part, then for the retail part. And at some time, the stores were totally closed, so we were only open to able to keep the duty-free and travel value shops open, and all the others had to close or could only let in a certain number of passengers or customers at a time. So yeah, the first half of the year was very difficult, and then actually when summer started, it was quite a relief, and it went further up until the end of the year, despite high numbers. But at some point, it was just then, starting through, and people also wanted to travel, and took all different measures into account they had to bear just to be able to travel. So actually from July last year on, we noticed a steady improvement. So I think in total we were like rough about 25 million passengers in 2021. So that's like, but most of those passengers actually happened in the second half of the year.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that was a similar story being told to some other airport operators in Europe, certainly. You mentioned the staff shortages and how that's creating problems in terms of congestion and queues and delays. In terms of the retail shops and the F&B, I imagine the staff shortages was also a problem there. And how have you met those challenges?
Well, it's quite difficult to actually meet them. There are different activities that our tenants are doing, like really doing staff marketing and trying to make the location as an airport more attractive. And they're also trying to gather and find ideas on how to start some actions in general. But yeah, it's actually very tough and very difficult, because a lot of people have actually moved completely away from the branch. So a lot of F&B stuff actually moved to other areas, some kind of huge food chains, groceries. So they have actually ended up there because they've started to raise the wages. And in such a segment, it already makes a huge difference if you earn like 50 cents more an hour. So it's actually quite hard to find people to get into the airport. And also for the refugees, this is not an option, because there are so many regulations until you actually get your ID card for an airport. So yeah, it's very strict, and we have to. They all are very active and try to find stuff. The most difficult is, of course, in the F&B sector, but also in retail, it's quite hard to find people who are actually willing to go the extra mile for the airport. So yeah, it's a big issue.
I can imagine. And you we're talking about the mix of retail and F&B at the airport. What's the occupancy rate like at the moment?
You mean how many stores are open? Almost all of them.
I
just measured it, so there are only few that are actually not occupied. We did open a few in the beginning of this year. So we have a new electronics store on the land side. We have a new bakery added services or added menu also on the land side. Then there are a few about to open. And there are only a few that actually remain closed, but this is mainly due to upcoming construction work. So especially on the air side, there's one that's 2, 3. Actually, you can count them. Like two are being constructed right now, and there's only 1 or 2 that's actually remaining closed. And then there are a few in the satellites that are less frequented in total. So overall, we are at, I would say, about 4% that are not open right now.
Okay. And you mentioned sort of new openings and things to come and passengers can come and enjoy in the next few months. Are you able to list any of those for us now?
Yeah, of course, actually. So Montclair is opening in our area Z, which is a non-Schengen marketplace, sometime in summer. We are, of course, also dependent on what's happening in China, and a lot of furniture is stuck there. So yeah, not only there, also for some refurbishments that we're waiting for existing stores. So yeah, we have to see whether they can actually maintain their opening date. Then we also are on the list of the accessorize every entry into the German market. So they are also planning to open sometime during summer or early fall. Yeah, then what I told you, this one location on the land side, the bakery that we postponed during the pandemic, because especially the land side, they had the hardest part. Then we have a new car mobility provider, OK Mobility from Spain. Yeah, so there are a few coming over, and we just recently opened also one of the latest Boss flagship store locations at airports. So we did that in Schengen, and coming with that, since Boss moved out of the travel value there, they renewed the whole area. You might have read an article about that. So they integrated a very nice accessories and jewelry area, and also some ready to wear into that area of about 400 square meters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like there's lots for passengers to enjoy coming up. We understand that you're in the process of preparing for the Openivo VIP lounge and some services there. Are you able to elaborate on that for us?
Yeah. So we do have an airside VIP lounge, but what's happening now is that coming from a landside smaller area where they welcomed all guests flying directly from Frankfurt. They are building, the VIP team is building a whole VIP terminal right at the corner of our terminal 1A. So it's actually not a lounge, but it's rather actually you can compare it a bit like with a hotel atmosphere. So you do have one area where everyone checks in. And then there's a common space, like a bit like a lobby, for example. And then you have certain suites where people who want more privacy can actually spend their time until they're finally boarding, and they are brought to the planes with the limousines. So yeah, it's 2 stories, and you can check in. Whether you're a Schengen or a non-Schengen passenger, you can actually check in into this one location, and you can move around in this location. And it's the first area where you can actually mix Schengen and non-Schengen passengers. And then they're in the end brought to their departure destination.
And when do you plan to sort of open that?
Right now the date is planned to September.
Okay.
Despite all different obstacles that we have to meet until there, but it's gone quite far already. I actually can share some pictures afterwards. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, I've greatly enjoyed catching up with you today and hearing the sort of it's moving in the right direction. It sounds like at Frankfurt Airport. There's definitely some positive momentum to feel good about, and I just hope that continues from this point forward.
Yeah, for us, we don't know what's happening in fall, and there are also quite negative predictions. So everyone is preparing in what's going on in fall, but let's see what this actually means in the end. And until now, we have actually coped with any different situation, and what I believe is that whatever happens, it'll catch up again to where we have started in 2020 or beginning 2020, end of 2019.
We've definitely heard the word resilience time and time again about the travel retail industry, haven't we, over the years? And indeed, the whole time I've been in travel retail, I've heard that word again and again. So let's continue to be resilient, and and I hope to speak with you soon to catch up again.
Maybe one last thing that I just heard this week is that since especially the online business and also the brick and mortar business are still suffering now, the online is moving down again since people are getting further back in brick and mortar, but the high spenders are still staying with the airports. So what we see is that there still is a tendency to invest into airports for the larger brands to stage and showcase their product for the people who are willing to spend. So we are just still quite positive to find the right offer for all of them.
Absolutely, the revenge spenders are doing so in store, which is fantastic news for all concerned. So that's great news. Thank you again, and I'm sure we'll speak to each other again soon.
Yeah, thank you for the interview, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.